And blessed to be a part of your day. Coming up, more of your phone calls on a variety of issues that matter to you. The student protest, and now we have people that are protesting at the White House. They're students. They've turned their back to the White House. Oh, I'm sure their civics teachers, their history teachers, their parents are so proud. Our guest this hour, president of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, former assistant director of the FBA, Ron Husko, joins us now. Talk all things crime and punishment. Ron, good morning.
Hey, Kevin. Good to be with you.
Hey, thank you for your service to our country. The FBI has been in the news, but as most of us know, we have a lot of respect for law enforcement, a lot of respect for the FBI. Not everybody can become an FBI agent, and it's a pleasure to have you on, sir.
Well, thank you for that. Working for the government, working for the FBI was a joy. Public service is, to me, something that everybody ought to have a piece of, and it was a wonderful 30 years that I had in the organization. So I'm thrilled by the opportunity.
Must be a challenge for you to hear about them in the news so much these days.
Well, it is. I am trying to do my best to let my past guide my thoughts, and so that makes me kind of evidence-based. I want to see the facts. I am certainly eager to read the Inspector General's report that is an examination of the conclusion of the Hillary Clinton email investigation and Jim Comey's role in that, the deputy director's role in that. So I want to see the facts. I know everybody has opinions. I'm trying to generally hold back on mine until I see what is allegedly proven by the Inspector General. But I can tell you after a 30-year career where I had a top-secret security clearance and valued it and guarded it, I found that the results of the server email investigation, kind of broadly dissatisfying. Have a lot of questions about it, and I hope they're answered.
Well, Ron, a final question before we talk about sanctuary cities and ICE agents and everything else, but I just find it unusual, and again, maybe I'm naive that you have, these two associates with the FBI, one the big investigator, the other Page, that are texting each other back and forth about a candidate for the high office and everything else. Because again, ethics, morality, judgment, those are all staunch pillars of being an FBI person. And maybe it's my time in the military. You just never did those things over social media. You never did those things on phones. Never really discussed politics.
Well, it was at least stupid on a couple of levels. One is using FBI facilities, that is the devices and the servers, and knowing that the FBI stores all that information. Particularly, here's Peter Strzok, who I don't really know, who was a deputy assistant director in counterintelligence. He certainly knows how we look at others and how the FBI retains that information for internal investigations and other purposes. So just the methodology that they used is madness for people supposedly of this capability and intellect and rank in the FBI. Apart from that, just very damaging, the content, the notion that they were both having an affair on behind the back of their spouses. Disappointing on so many levels. I think, there's a price to be paid for that. We'll see what if their political views actually impacted the work. Certainly, FBI agents across the country have their own personal political views. They vote their conscience or however they vote. It shouldn't ever touch the work. I know in my experience, the people who worked for me knew. First, I never asked their party affiliation, how they voted, what their politics were. They knew never to bring that into a case discussion. I never saw it happen. So we'll see how it impacted. Certainly the Inspector General is examining that, and we'll see what discipline comes from it.
Indeed, we continue on. Ron Husko, our guest here at KIDO Talk Radio, president of Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. So what do you make of what's going on in California, where you have the mayor of Oakland and people just, not enforcing federal law? I don't get it.
Well, to me, having enforced federal law for 30 years, it is increasingly outrageous. I think it is a move from elected officials, public officials in a state that is heavily populated by people who are unlawfully here, undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens, whatever label you want to use. I think they are increasingly trying to push the envelope and test and push back on the Trump administration, what the DOJ expects, certainly on what the expectations are of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. The notion of a big city mayor publicly warning those illegally here that ICE raids are coming is very, very concerning. And you add to that the movements by certain jurisdictions, and to include the state of California, that is essentially saying do not cooperate in any way at all with ICE in their legitimate immigration functions, is outrageous. I am glad that to hear that the Attorney General is intending to sue California for their actions, for their efforts. I hope that he prevails. Certainly, federal immigration law and the supremacy clause of the Constitution suggests that he should prevail. It's outrageous. The notion of any government saying, "Look, this is going to be an enclave. We're not going to support federal law. Period. In fact, we're going to defy it." It to me is outrageous. It flies in the face of the rule of law and the expectation that our federal government can set the boundaries of who comes into the country, under what terms, and when and how they have to leave. So I hope that the rule of law is quickly restored.
We continue on here at KIDO Talk Radio. Ron Husko joins us, president of Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. Let's talk about your group. Why does law enforcement need a legal defense fund? I know they're under siege. I know they're under fire. But for people that are going, well, you guys protect us. Why do y'all need protecting?
Well, from time to time, there are politicians, jurisdictions, district attorneys who we believe make decisions on charging police officers not based on the facts and on the law, but on the politics. And 20-plus years ago, a group of individuals here in Virginia started this nonprofit, the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, and with an eye toward helping raise funds to defend those law enforcement officers that we believed were wrongfully charged. I can tell you that in my 4 years here, I retired in 2014 from the FBI. In my 4 years here, we have taken on, probably a dozen new cases, and we have prevailed, the officers have prevailed, with our fundraising help and a good defense team, in almost 100% of those cases. And that is because a judge decided to throw the charges out because they knew that the charges could not be sustained, or juries listened to the cases and the defendants, the police officers, were acquitted. One great example recently was, and really it perfectly fits the mold of what we do, was the Baltimore 6, that we refer to as the Baltimore 6 case, the 6 officers charged in the death of Freddie Gray. We had a classic example of a local prosecutor who rushed to judgment. The facts did not bear out any allegation that she brought forward against those 6 officers. Ultimately, one had there was a mistrial. 3 other officers in quick succession were acquitted by an African-American judge who had previously served in the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. He listened to every bit of the evidence in the case and systematically dismantled Marilyn Mosby's cases against those officers. And at the end of the day, the same prosecutor saw fit to drop the remaining charges on the other officers because she knew she couldn't win. She could prove nothing. And it was a classic case of a political prosecution. Perhaps she decided, look, we're going to have rioting until I charge officers. She barely examined the evidence, of which against those officers there was none. And she indicted all 6 of them. And at a tremendous cost to them, certainly at a cost of trust within the community, she was driving toward a political result. And what she got, and what those officers got at the end of the day, was justice. The truth was known. You can't change the facts. And when those facts came out, they proved nothing against those 6. But their careers, their reputations were forever damaged. So that's the sort of case that we stand up for.
Ron, if people would like more information, what can they do, sir?
They can find us online. We're at the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund.org, policedefense.org. We'll get you to that website. We also have a second nonprofit. It's called the Law Enforcement Action Network. They can find that as well, that we are, pro rule of law, pro Constitution, pro Second Amendment rights, pro the professional law enforcement in America today.
Ron, thank you again for your service. We appreciate you being with us, sir.
Great talking to you, Kevin.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Ron Husko joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up next, Hillary Clinton Unleashed. If you're not up yet because of this rainy Wednesday morning, this will get you rolling. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
The United States. There's all that red in the middle where Trump won. Now, I win the coasts, I win, Illinois and Minnesota, places like that. But what the map doesn't show you is that I won the places that represent 2/3 of America's gross domestic product. So I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward. And his whole campaign, Make America Great Again, was looking backwards. You didn't like black people getting rights. You don't like women, getting jobs. You don't want to, see that Indian American succeeding more than you are. Whatever your problem is, I'm going to solve it.
There you have it, Hillary Clinton in India. By the way, you're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 8:21. So here you have someone who, came very close a couple times to being the president of the United States, ripping people that don't live on the coast, ripping people in Idaho, ripping people in the Midwest, in the heartland of America, right? And then she throws in race. And this is why the Democratic Party will always fail. Well, we hope that they always fail because they've embraced the politics of division. They've embraced the identity politics, right? It's all about identity politics. People here, that we're not as smart, we're not as rich, we're not as that. Is this a patriotic thing to say?
Diverse, dynamic product. So I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic.
Right, because the West Coast and the East Coast, they're the only places where we have optimism and great quality of, there's no great quality of life because you have people that are murderers, you have people that are here illegally, you have massive corruption. Yeah, we have corruption here, but our corruption's more complacency or incompetency, where you have the big leagues of incompetence. I love Hillary Clinton. Again, Madam President. Madam President. Continue on.
Moving forward, and his whole campaign, Make America Great Again, was looking backwards. You didn't like black people getting rights. You don't like women,
Right, because black people and women just got rights under the Democratic regime, right? I don't think so. What an angry, mean, narrow-minded narrative Hillary Clinton is espousing in India. She's nothing more than a bitter, sore loser. You could even say a bitter, old, sore loser, although there's nothing wrong with being old once you get to be old, right? Then you get defensive about anybody. Well, nothing about old. But here, she's just a clingy, bitter loser. And what person would say that about their beloved country? You know, people got tired of Obama. People got tired of lawlessness, of the drug dealers, of the legalization, of the culture going away that none of us voted for. But Obama ushered in. At least you knew what Obama was eventually. He came out and he's a lib. The Clintons never figured out what they were post-Bill Clinton.
You know, getting jobs, you don't want to, see that Indian American succeeding more than you are, whatever your problem is.
Right, because in America we're petty. As you know, we're the most gracious, charitable, loving country in the world. People take advantage of us. And only a self-loathing politician like Hillary Clinton could try and make the case that if you stand up for yourself, you're a racist and a bigot and you're narrow-minded. It's just silly, right? Silly. The libs. Hashtag the libs.
I'm going to solve it. So it was a symptom, but it was also a cause, because having someone run for president who voices those ideas,
What ideas did she voice? Remember when Obama called her Annie Oakley?
rejects so much of the American story and our values, was also the underlying cause as well.
And there we have it. Of course, Hillary Clinton, many of you have seen the clip on YouTube where she's falling again and again and again. But somebody caught her. 8:25, Kevin Miller in the morning. Our time, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And when you have an issue with Donald Trump, it could be a lot worse. Hillary Clinton could be our president, right? Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time on this wet Wednesday morning in the Treasure Valley. Good morning, Dave. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Coming up, we'll go back to Preston, Idaho's puppy death dilemma. Talk a little bit more about the student protests and a few other things. Your thoughts on Hillary Clinton, the bitter, sore loser that she is. And for all of you running around that voted for Clinton, how do you like the fact that your vote didn't count? For all the huffing and puffing and, the Barack Obama sycophants, didn't happen for you, did it? There's something else that's troubling to me. We're about ready to have this huge gubernatorial race where you have three big candidates, Congressman Labrador, Dr. Alquist, Lieutenant Governor Little. And the other day somebody said to me, I said, well, I think it's going to be a base primary election. And then said, well, Kevin Miller, what about the plot by state Democrats? And I go, state Democrats? What do you mean by that? And I don't know if it's up to Lawrence Denny, the Secretary of State, not to be confused with Rex Tillerson. I don't know if it's up to, there aren't really any reporters anymore. Maybe Melissa Davlin. Of course, she might get in trouble because she's employed by the state, the host of the award-winning Idaho Reports. The reason why we're shouting out to her, because her mom listens. Hello, Melissa's mother. Hope you're doing well. We appreciate listening to the program. But there's something here that, again, it might be some slappy here that just planted a story with me. However, how many Democrats are so worried about who wins the Republican primary? And look, you have two Democrats running, so maybe this quells it. But you have the thought of Democrats switching over to become Republicans to make sure that one or two candidates don't become the nominee. Because let's face it, you've got Paulette Jordan. She's running against A.J. Belukoff. We continue to try and get them on, but they don't want to come on. Good for them. Those folks believe, especially if it's Mr. Belukoff, we like A.J. He does a great job. Self-made man, entrepreneur, beloved in the city of Boise, who spent, $4 million of his own money the last time? So if it is one of those folks, they believe that they'll have a financial advantage of whoever comes out of the GOP highly contested primary, right? So could you see Democrats becoming Republicans because it's a closed primary, which is smart, which is brilliant, because you don't want the libs. Look, the libs, that's why you're the libs. You have your own team. The libs have their own team. Lib. Run wild and free, right? In libland. As opposed to the conservatives, the Republicans will just say that. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that was just somebody just blowing smoke. But, where's the in-depth, intelligent political reporting on that? That would be something. Maybe I should just make that up. No, this isn't this. This is the real news station. Hashtag fake news. There you have the headline as the blog post. Hashtag fake news. The secret plot to undermine the GOP gubernatorial primary. And just base it on speculation, really. That's what everybody else does. Well, we try to be different. Coming up next, we will take your thoughts on the student protest. A couple good ones going on, but really, shouldn't these kids be in school? And in my personal opinion, see if you agree with me at 580-KIDO, why not protest on the weekends? Or better yet, on spring break. Isn't that just around the corner? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Blessed to be a part of your day. K. Millie in the morning. Don't forget this afternoon, Sean Hannity. Hey, here's something that's it's weird. At KIDOTalkRadio.com, I write a little bit about it. You don't cross the boss, and that's why Tillerson got the boot. And people have been analyzing this for quite some time, but here's the weirdest thing. Remember when the then Secretary of State got caught calling the President of the United States a moron? Remember that? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think, in my illustrious career, maybe in yours, have you ever gotten caught calling the boss a dope? That's never good. And let's face it, when you're the Secretary of State, you call that the President a dope, and then you don't deny it? What do they always say? Deny, deny, deny. But I did it. Deny, deny, deny. Well, another reason why Big Rex had to go.
Claims to be the leader of women. She claims to be the ultimate feminist icon. And then she goes ahead and insults white women that we can't think for ourselves. We can't vote for ourselves. Further along, she says that we vote because our husbands, our bosses, our sons tell us how to vote. Could there be a more anti-feminist statement than that? I don't think so. But you know what? Every time Hillary Clinton opens her mouth, we are reminded why we voted for Donald Trump.
There we have it. Tommy Lahern from Fox and Friends. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Catch that clip on the Kevin Miller show page on Facebook.com. Other news of the day, parents, guardians, teachers, countrymen, beware. It is the massive student protesting day going on. And as I've shared with you on our website, basically, look, kids need to be in school. Kids need to be in school, not protesting. Now, some area schools are hunkering down, and they're going to have a march. For me personally, I think that the kids, who I have a great deal of respect for, but they're still students, they're still children, would be better off doing this during spring break. Right? If you want to honor people, do it on your own time. And as I've said before, let's enforce some truancy laws. But from the Big Fox, you have Kuna High School getting some national attention. The vice principal, Dave Beamer, saying that this was all about the kids in their protest today.
It was 100% generated by the students. So when they came to us as something that's controlled and positive, we did embrace it.
So they're going to not have class at Kuna High. They're going to have an assembly, and then they're going to march through the campus halls. Now, they said the administrators embraced the proposal. Does anybody have enough guts? Is there a school that just said no? And this is no disrespect to the students that were killed, but in reality, we're sacrificing classroom time for this. At Nampa High, you have students that apparently are going to protest, and you have others that are actually going to show their support for the Second Amendment. Now you've got students walking out of school as well. When you miss school, you're a loser. Right? I mean, we're talking about these folks in Washington, D.C. that are doing this. What's the message here? What am I missing at 580-5436, 580-KIDO? Okay, we're leaving school. Your school didn't do anything wrong. You're not hurting the politicians. You're only hurting yourself. Well, we're sacrificing. How about sacrificing again an after-school special?
It was 100% generated by the students. So when they came to us as something that's controlled and positive, we did embrace it.
And we're hearing from the Pablo-Puking Press, the fake news, that this is about bringing people together. Really?
I don't think it's a political issue. I think people just need to be better to each other.
Right. That's a great statement, but isn't it naive?
This is a serious topic, and it could happen anywhere, and God forbid it happen here. But we need to talk about school safety and being kind to one another and preventing this from happening.
Okay, so what are we going to do? With all due respect, schools are gun-free zones. There's laws against bringing guns to school. We've vilified the Second Amendment. We've said the NRA is bad. What are we missing here? I think what we're missing is an educational opportunity. Now, today, in the Gilded Age of litigation, no one, including people on the radio, want to be controversial. No one wants to have an opinion. Everybody just wants to get along. I mean, we've all become amoebas, right? But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, and you're going to have the 99% of the fake news saying what? Oh, this is great. And no. Shouldn't the leadership come from the parents, the teachers, the people that are in charge? That's why they're in charge. They have the responsibility. Hey, we'd like to have an assembly. Okay, do it after school. Hey, we'd like to have a protest. Okay, do it on Saturday. Hey, we'd like to do that. Do that on your own time, just like work. Tea Party Bob joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
I am living the dream.
You're always living the dream. You're just a great dreamer. You know, I've been listening to you here talk about the schools and the kids with the protests and what have you. What I'd like to bring up, a subject on the school levies and how they affect the retired people in our communities. You know, the grandma and grandpas that are out there. Yesterday, as taxpayers, we passed a lot of school levies, $95 million for Ada County, $14 million for West Ada, and Lord knows how many others. Does anyone know where the money is going to be spent, or whether we're just throwing this money at our children's education without any conscious way of knowing how we're spending it? You know, each and every year, school boards ask for more and more money, and the taxes go higher and higher. But do your listeners actually understand that I have seen retired people in my community, and in many cases, they have to sell their homes because they can no longer afford to live in them. Now, maybe we should think about the fact that we try to solve a budget problem with our education by taxing everyone more money, and it winds up pushing people who have worked all their lives for retirement and now can't afford the higher taxes, have to give up their homes, and in many cases move in with their kids. You know, we think we solve one problem, and all we do is create another. The citizens of our state, they need to be more conscious of how our state and municipalities spend our money and what they spend it on, because if we did some investigating, we would find that there are huge amounts of wasted funds. Has anyone heard of the commercial being aired on the radio now in Idaho about how our kids are not getting a good education? They advertise them as number 49.
Was it Don't Fail Idaho by the Catherine Albertsons Foundation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, how can you run that advertisement and ask for more money? Nothing's changed. I think this thing's been running for the last year. You know, it seems like we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we get exactly the same results. Now, they did this in California for years. So if we don't want this state to turn into another California, then everybody needs to wake up and start going to the school board meetings and find out why the schools need all of these levies. And we need to start being responsible. You know, there are so many people affected by higher taxes, and nobody seems to ask any questions. It's time to start asking questions.
Well,
Even
every year. But hold on. Here's the other thing. I mean, people voted for it. You and I have debated this for years, and you think to yourself, well, when will people rise up and say no? Now, your point is, well, Kevin, they did, and they come back again and again. So there's a problem that you've brought up, and you remember our old friend Rusty Smurs. He organized with you and others. The levy was shot down, and 3 months later it was back again, and then they passed it. There's a pattern, as you've said, there's a pattern here going on.
Absolutely. And, you know, you can't just allow these people to come back 3 months later with a levy. They need to sit down for a year and figure out what they're doing wrong. I mean, we spend millions and millions of dollars on our school. We're just about to approve a school budget for over $500 million from the state. And they want more money here. This is nuts. This has to change. And our kids don't seem to be getting a better education.
Well, here's the other issue on that. Well, they're all leaving school today, and everybody says it's a good thing. However, you've got a problem with everybody moving in. Okay, so you move in, you have kids, you're going to be charged extra. How do you balance that? Because, as you know, look at the last, since you've moved to Meridian, how it's grown. It's amazing. Just look at Eagle Road in the last 5 years.
Oh, I know. You need to get the cost to the developers up. It has to go up. And if that means price housing goes up, well, so be it. Or maybe they don't make as much profit. We have to find a way to finance this infrastructure when they keep building these homes.
And that's where true leadership comes in. And whether it's at the local level, whether it's at the state level, everybody keeps passing the buck. But you know how it is, just getting out of your subdivision, my subdivision. I'm sitting there last night. It's like 3 p.m. I can't go anywhere. And I'm going, this is nuts.
Oh, I did the same thing this morning. It took me 10 minutes to get out of the subdivision because of the traffic. That's 10 miles. Now, they just widened this, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
It's a crazy road now. You spend the money on the roads, you have to get the money from someplace. Well, you get it from taxes. But when the infrastructure goes in, you need to have the developers pay.
Now, wait a minute. A final thought for you here. You should be grateful that they signed a 0.5% income tax reduction.
Oh, I talked to a senator about that yesterday. The only reason they even signed it is because they couldn't get anything else through. They knew they couldn't get the grocery tax through. They knew that this only helps the darn corporations. If you got more than 3 or 4 kids, you're going to pay more money in taxes, not less. Does anybody figure that out yet? That's the truth.
You're right. Tea Party Bob, we appreciate you.
Take care, my friend. You have a good day.
Always great to hear from Tea Party Bob. Remember, publisher of the Gem State Patriot. Coming up next, Idaho makes national news, and it's not a good thing. We'll get your reaction with me, Kevin Miller, on KIDO Talk Radio. By the way, if you're a fan of Game of Thrones at KIDOTalkRadio.com, apparently everybody's going to get it. We have that story for you if you'd like to check that out.
A Idaho teacher is under investigation after reportedly feeding a live puppy to a snapping turtle in front of students. Officials say the incident happened after school last week at Preston Junior High School in eastern Idaho. Robert Crossland is still teaching as law enforcement and the school district investigate. School officials called the incident regrettable, but added that the teacher is well respected in the district. PETA has also weighed in on the controversy, saying in a statement, quote, "This teacher is a bully who should not be allowed near impressionable young people. Any youngster who witnessed cruelty in the classroom is now in desperate need of lessons about having empathy for other living beings."
That was from CBS News. Not to be outdone, Fox News is covering this as well at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And I sit back and I think to myself, my goodness gracious, what is next here when we're talking about this? Now, the Preston School District continues to roll on with this, right? I just wonder again that we're thinking about this and thinking to ourselves, if this person is innocent, then have him come out and say he didn't do it. If he's guilty, it's time for some charges to be filed. And as we've reported and Channel 7 has reported, he has in fact been under investigation for other alleged incidents of animal cruelty. We're joined by Pro-Life on KIDO Talk Radio. With Kevin Miller in the morning, Pro-Life, what would you like to say to all the people visiting from Kentucky or Columbus, Ohio, or Arizona, or from Spokane, or from South Dakota? What do you want to say to all the people visiting that may that want to get a commentary fix before they embrace March Madness?
Well, what they need to do is listen to 580 KIDO, and they can do that live, right? I never do, but, I mean, you can do that on the Internet. Is that right?
You can listen to it on the KIDO Talk Radio app. You can listen to it on the web. And you can listen to the semi-award-winning Kevin Miller Show every morning or on demand at KIDOTalkRadio.com.
Well, that's what I wanted to hear. I need to know all those things. But anyway, down there at Preston, they're not going to do a thing about that because supposedly it's legal. But, you know, the whole world is desensitized. I mean, mixed martial arts is legal. To murder your baby before it's born, that's legal. And so we're all just desensitized. And I don't know what to do about it except just say that we need to stop the violence. Stop, especially if I'm saying right now that if we were a pro-life culture and we looked at when sperm met egg, then that was a person on earth, you couldn't kill the baby, then none of this other violence would be here. And but we're not going to do that yet. And I mean,
well, people have pointed this out. They said, look, this teacher allegedly did this, and yet you have abortions throughout the country. It happens every day. You have, the criminal Goslin who did all those things, and there was no outrage, and yet you have this puppy that allegedly was killed, eaten alive, and it's national news. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so see, I try to protect every kind of life.
Thank you for self-reporting.
Well, I know, but you'll find that vegans, vegetarians, those kind of people have a more sensitive conscience, and there's a reason for that. You take the nation of India. Now they're mostly vegetarians, and they're not an aggressive military kind of place like, the Islamic nations that eat animals. There's a lot to what you're going to do with your animal. And,
What are you saying?
I'm saying that...
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the protection of animals, if you don't eat animals, you're more sensitive to protecting them.
Right. On the other hand, you have this issue that continues to get national news. And, here's the misreporting here at KIDO Talk Radio. This is why we give you the real news, the real truth from the real people. They're saying the community is standing by the science teacher. You got 2,200 people that signed a petition. You have 12,000 people that want him gone.
Well, see, the problem is this. I know the people in Franklin County. I used to live in the next county right over there. I used to drive through Franklin County all the time. I have friends there, and I know people there. They're of the mindset that what he's doing is just fine. So,
well, they need to go.
Yeah, they do. But
you need to go, too.
I guess I do, so I better hang up. So anyway, God bless you. This is the best station.
God bless you. I bet you say that to all the boys.
To all the stations? No, I don't say that. Of course I don't.
You don't really like the other radio stations. You like us the best, right?
That's right.
And who's your favorite host?
Kevin Miller.
Ah, the check's in the mail. Thank you, Pro-Life.
Hey, Millie. Hey.
Take care. KIDO Talk Radio coming up. Bob in Meridian first. Traffic and weather together at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Kevin. Hey, I'd just like to commend the teachers and students down in Kuna for taking a thoughtful, rational approach to the killings in Florida. Kind of following that adage, when you point your finger at somebody, you got three pointing back at you. And it seems like the other kids that are walking out have kind of forgotten that, and they might want to take a look at it. And as you were talking to pro-life, I remember something from my school, that was a long time ago, but we had to poke a live frog with needles, and then we to kill it before we could dissect it, you stick the needle into its head and kind of move it around and scramble its brains to kill it. And I thought, when I first heard this thing about the puppy, I'm thinking, well, that's really just what life's all about. You got animals that eat other animals and no big thing. But then as I was listening to pro-life, we've advanced that to now we could pull a baby out feet first and stick scissors in its back of its head and scramble its brains, and we think that's okay. So maybe that scrambling the frog's brains, maybe wasn't such a good thing, and I hadn't thought about it that way.
Well, that's what we try to do, make you think.
And you did. Thank you.
Bob, take care.
You too.
Appreciate Bob. Don't forget, KIDO Talk Radio, your home for all the great talkers here in the Treasure Valley. Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity, and, of course, the newest addition to the franchise, Lars Larson. Remember the KIDO Talk Radio app. Take us anywhere. Get up-to-date information, of course, what schools we're going to, the latest on Miller's Mission, and the latest in state and local talk. By the way, 107.5 FM, if you're having trouble with the daylight savings time, we're on our newest affiliate, of course, our flagship, 580 AM. Ray, great job. Thanks, everybody. Good day. God bless, and keep the faith.